Hello everyone, I have been slaying lately and I've been meaning to make a video talking about how I've been slaying and just give some info about how Slayer has changed since the last time I've made Slayer videos, which was a very long time ago. So first of all, in the background of this video I will be killing Cerberus, and the reason that I kill Cerberus is because it's very nice profit and pretty good XP. It's actually more efficient for me if I'm not playing alts to make my money from Slayer via mostly Cerberus than via runecrafting, which is interesting and quite a change from how things used to be. It's not a massive amount more efficient, but it's a little bit better, and it's just another option basically, and I kind of like doing lavas, so I think I'm going to stick with Cerberus for money. I apologize if you might hear some weird radiator noises in the background. I've been waiting for it to stop making noises and it's not stopping making noises, so I'm just going to continue recording this video. So yeah, there's a lot of things about Slayer that have changed in the past, year and a half or whatever it was since the last time I made any guides, and as far as those guides go, like the cannon placements and stuff are still pretty much accurate as far as I know, but there's a lot of things about Slayer that have changed, such as being able to barrage a lot of tasks and get very high rates, and new gear, and the potential of doing Cerberus for profit, and if you're not doing Cerberus for profit, getting very high XP rates by just doing like barrage tasks and high XP cannon tasks like dags and calfites. So yeah, about a week ago, well, a little over a week ago, I decided to try out some slaying. It just crossed my mind because I'd been doing so much Nightmare Zone throughout the semester. Like, do I really need to do this much Nightmare Zone? And so I decided to try out some Slayer to see how much melee XP I could expect to get from it, and the answer is that I definitely do not need to do this much Nightmare Zone if I'm planning to do Cerberus, because I'm going to get a shit ton of melee XP from Cerberus, so I guess I'm kind of glad that I did give it a try. I'll probably continue slaying until maybe another week or two, and then I think I'll be back to runecrafting. I still do want to at least try to get the week record. I'm probably not going to be able to get the month, at least not now, unless I have more free time than I expect. But yeah, Cerberus is not only nice profit, but also pretty good for XP, which is why I do it. People ask, why wouldn't I do something like Demonic Gorillas also? Because Demonic Gorillas are pretty high profit, but the problem with them is that they're not very good Slayer XP at all, worse than Cerberus even, and you have to kill them with both melee and range, I think it is, so you don't even get very much melee XP at all. And range XP is practically worthless, since you can get almost 1 mil XP an hour with ranging with chinning if you know how to do it right. So yeah, that's why I don't do Demonic Gorillas. As far as my setup for Cerberus, I have messed around with it a bit. I was using SGS at first, but I honestly think that Dragon Dagger is better, and I think it's better than Crystal Halberd also. The reason is because Dragon Dagger is the same attack speed as a Whip or a Hasta, 4 ticks, and it can max, I think, 100. I've seen it hit 50s with individual attacks, so I assume it could hit a 50-50. And something like Crystal Halberd, I think it maxes around 140, but its attack speed is 7 ticks, so it's 175% the attack speed and only 140% the max hit, so that doesn't seem worth it based on just some simple math. As far as SGS, the advantage of SGS would be that it would make your trips longer, but it also would worsen your DPS, and increasing your trip length doesn't really increase the kills per hour a very significant amount, so I honestly think that Dragon Dagger is the best spec weapon to use there. I don't have it poisoned, but I don't know if that really makes a difference, to be honest. Some people like Razor Beast don't use Poison Dragon Dagger just because they want to get more melee XP, and poison damage doesn't give any XP. I don't really need more melee XP, so maybe I'll decide to poison it, but the difference in DPS is so minuscule that I don't know. I just haven't bothered, to be honest. I use a Hasta instead of a Bludgeon, even though Hasta is probably worse, or definitely worse DPS. Just because Bludgeon can only train strength, and with the amount of Cerberus that I'll be killing if I do it all the way to 200 mil, I would get 200 mil strength so long before I hit 200 mil Slayer that I wouldn't be able to train strength at all after that, and there's other tasks that Bludgeon is really good for, like Calfites and Trolls, and even with Hasta on shared, I'm still getting a fair amount of strength XP that I would be missing out on if I had 200 mil. And if I used a Hasta on defensive, then I'd be getting too much defense XP. So it seems like Hasta on control is really the best option, even though it's not ideal. My inventory setup, I take 1 Super Combat, 1 Saradomin Brew, and I bring 9 Super Restores and 4 baskets of strawberries, and then the rest is sharks. I use the strawberries because they're actually more healing per inventory slot than a shark. It's 30 HP per inventory slot, so they're really quite nice. You can pull out some strawberries between kills and heal up then without losing any time. And I drink a dose of brew every time I repot, just because it's also quite nice healing, but I don't want to drink them too frequently since they drain your stats. And I bring the regular max cape for the teleports, and the fire max cape is just a recolored fire cape, so it doesn't have any of those perks. But I put on the max cape whenever I drink a dose of super restore, because it gives the holy wrench effect from the prayer cape, so it gives me a little bit of extra prayer restore, which is pretty nice. And I have been doing my elite clues. There's a 1 in 100 drop rate of elite clues from Cerberus, and I've actually been doing them because I have a feeling that 200 elite clues might be required for a comp cape if it were to come out in the future, because you do need 200 elite clues completed to get the heavy casket thing. So that's why I have been actually doing elites, even though I'm not a huge fan of them and the loot is always fucking terrible. But yeah, I figured it's worth it. It does save me a lot of time over having to just like farm for them. So that's why I've been doing those. And as far as like kills per hour and XP rates and stuff, it seems like I get around like 36 or 37 kills per hour roughly, which works out to be about 25 to 26k an hour Slayer XP and a bit over 100k an hour melee XP. So it's not amazing XP by any means, but it's like sort of similar to how something like Abyssal Demons are. A little bit slower than Abyssal Demons now because of superiors and stuff, but I mean the profit per hour is very nice. Long-term average, it's about 2.5 mil an hour profit at Cerberus, so that's really good. So that's basically why I've been doing it, is just to try to bring in some money. As far as the tasks that I'm doing, skipping, blocking, etc., I'll put a screenshot up on the video right now just showing what I'm planning to do for the long run. This is taken off of a spreadsheet on Google Sheets made by Gingbino. This spreadsheet is amazing. I will link it in the description. I'll link a video that he made, and then the spreadsheet is linked in the description of that video. He made a video explaining how to use it, and it's just a Google Sheets thing, so you just have to make a copy of it, and then you can modify it and use it for your own purposes. And it's a really powerful tool for Slayer. You can use it to figure out what tasks you can do and skip to see your profit, your average XP rate, your ratios of different experience from doing Slayer, and your average points per task. So it's just a crazy amount of information you can get from it, and I've been using it to figure out exactly how I plan to do Slayer for the future. So yeah, basically my objective with this block list is to do as few tasks as possible and still be gaining points so that I can do as much Cerberus as possible, because I want to be making money. So I do Dark Beast with no extension because that's a very quick task for boosting points. I do Cerberus. I do Calphites because they're a very high XP task. I do Greater Necreals with magic because that's another fairly high XP task when you're barraging them. I barrage Smoke Devils. That's the highest XP task in the game. They're like 140k XP an hour. I do Black Dragons with no extension because you can kill the baby ones and it's another quick point booster task. I do Dagonoths because they're very high XP. They're like 80k an hour plus. I do Sucros with no extension because they're not a very good task, but I have to do one more task basically to be gaining points. As you can see, I'm gaining an average of 1 point per task, which is a good thing. Right now I'm still doing Trolls because I want to gain a bit of points, but in the long run I will be skipping them. And I've been doing Bloodvelds sometimes, but Bloodvelds are pretty bad. They're not very good XP, to be honest, and they're always so crowded. And I also barrage Dust Devils. I can afford to barrage a lot of tasks because I have a fair amount of melee XP from Nightmare Zone already, so it's nice because I can do that and get a fair amount of magic XP also. The only downside is I'm not going to get much range XP from Slayer, but as I said earlier, ranging is very fast outside of Slayer, so that won't really be a huge issue. So my expected average Slayer XP rate with this list is about 36k, which is a lot lower than it could be. I mean, if you were doing like only barrage tasks and high XP tasks, you can average as high as like 70 to 80k an hour Slayer XP, but you won't be getting much melee XP at all. And I kind of would rather do Slayer this way than have to do a shitload more Nightmare Zone, basically. So yeah, my plan is just to continue slaying for a while using this general list and make some money. I do profit quite a bit overall because I do so much Cerberus. In terms of actual time spent, about 75% of my time doing Slayer is at Cerberus, so yeah, it's a lot of Cerberus, but I don't really mind it. I'm getting the hang of Cerberus and I feel like I'm becoming pretty good at it, even though I still die. I'm starting to pick up on more subtle mechanics of the boss and stuff, and it's been entertaining, at least for now. I think what I will do as Slayer, since it's going to be nearly 5,000 hours to get to 200 mil, it's definitely not something I'm going to do all in one go. I'm probably going to slay for just a bit of XP here and there, have the extra motivation of profiting off of it and using that money for other skills. and just do it in bits here and there and gradually work towards the eventual 200 mil. As far as right now, I think I'm probably going to keep slaying until like maybe after Christmas, and then I still would like to see if I can squeeze in a week record of runecrafting. I've been still buying up supplies for runecrafting slowly, so I definitely intend to get back to that fairly soon. As far as Slayer in general and how you should just like pick your block list and stuff, definitely use King Bino's spreadsheet and mess around with it. I would recommend, if you aren't playing alts, to do Cerberus, as long as the crystals stay decent priced. And if you are going to play alts, then you definitely should not do Cerberus, and you should just try to do high XP tasks as much as possible. Skip is like, in general with Slayer, you don't want to do a lot of tasks. You want to skip as many tasks as you possibly can while still gaining or breaking even on Slayer points on average, because you want to just narrow down the task list that you do to the tasks that are only the highest XP per hour, or the tasks that are good money. For a bit, I was doing Abyssal Demons and Gargoyles, because both of those are pretty profitable. Gargoyles and Necriel have had their drop tables updated to be quite good. But the thing about Gargoyles is that the average profit and XP rate it's alright, but the average XP rate is lower than my overall average. It's like, I don't know, a little over 30k an hour, I think, with superiors. And the profit per hour is maybe like 1 mil per hour on task, which is pretty good. But I mean, if I actually decide to do Gargoyles instead of skipping them, it reduces my Slayer XP rate since it's below the average. And it reduces my profit since it means I'm doing less Cerberus. So it doesn't really seem worth it, even though you can make money from Gargoyles. But that definitely might be a decent option if you want to make some money from Slayer before you can do Cerberus. And yeah, Abyssal Demons are actually the worst task out of the three like basic melee tasks that you can do for money, which are Gargoyles, Abyssal Demons, and Necriels. Abyssal Demons have the whip drop, but their other drops are terrible, whereas Gargoyles just have good drops all around, and same with Necriel. So if you're looking to make profit off of just a basic melee task, then I think Gargoyles are best, and then Necriel, and then Abyssal Demons. Abyssal Demons really are not at all a good task, though you can barrage them for pretty high XP if you choose to do that. But yeah, you can do Slayer now as a pretty nice means of profit, and if you don't have an interest in that, you can do Slayer for very high XP rates. I think that if you're doing a lot of magic on Slayer tasks, like barraging every task that you possibly can that is good XP, those tasks that would actually be good XP are Abyssal Demons, Necriels, especially Greater Necriels, in the Catacombs. You can barrage Dust Devils, you can barrage, of course, Smoke Devils are by far the best barrage task, and you might be able to barrage Ankus, but they're probably not very good. But yeah, you can barrage a fair amount of your tasks, and then just do like, you know, Cal fights, which are over 70k an hour with the bludgeon, and Sukras are like nearly 60k an hour, and Dagonoths are like 80k an hour plus, and you could be averaging very high Slayer rates. And the thing about it is that it's actually not terribly expensive, because you're not canoning that many tasks if you're doing a list like that, and pretty much all of the monsters that you barrage have decent drops that make up most of the cost of barraging them. So actually doing Slayer like that is less expensive than Slayer used to be in the more traditional way of just doing a lot of canon tasks. The downside, of course, of that is that you get very little melee XP, so you'd have to do a lot more Nightmare Zone, which some people consider that a problem. Other people just consider that, you know, you can do Nightmare Zone while you're in class and doing homework and stuff like that really easily. So if you're a person that has obligations that allow you to still do something as AFK as Nightmare Zone, then you can consider that almost 0 time melee XP. So a lot of people are going for that. I myself, at least for now, I'm planning to go for the Prophet with the Hellhound boss, and it's working out decently so far. Unfortunately, my luck there is really bad. I've only gotten 3 primordial crystals, and I'm at 3,400 kill count right now. So yeah, the drop rate is 1 in 512, so I should have like 6 or 7 by now on average. But hopefully my luck will catch up to me. I guess we'll just have to see. And as far as, there's a lot more like gear setup switching that you can do for different tasks also. Like there's certain tasks where it's definitely worth using a bludgeon. Cal fights are the primary one, where you can get noticeably higher XP rates using a bludgeon versus a whip, because they're quite weak to crush. So I would highly recommend that you bludgeon Cal fights. I also bludgeon trolls. Trolls are weak to crush, at least the ice trolls. I haven't really tested out how much of a difference it makes in XP rates, but I'm going to be a little bit shy on strength XP either way, so it seems worth it for me to bludgeon trolls, and I think the XP rate should be slightly higher. I'm not using Proselyte ever because I have Black Demons blocked, as you can see. And the reason that I block Black Demons is because if you actually like put them on the spreadsheet and look at the difference in how much money you're making and like your XP rate, they're they're not really that high XP per hour. Like, you know, tasks being between 40 and 50k really isn't a high XP rate anymore compared to how fast a lot of tasks are. And they're very expensive to do because they drop essentially nothing. You have to overhead pray against them, and you're using a lot of cannonballs, so they're just really not a good task at all. The only redeeming factor of Black Demons is how AFK they are, which is not really something I'm concerned about right now, so that's why I have them blocked. I think it would cost me like 700 or 800 mil extra GP to do them along the way to 200 mil Slayer, and it would really not save me much time at all. Like, definitely less than 100 hours saved, which is just so not at all worth it. And for the rest of the tasks, I use a whip and I train strength. I don't train controlled with anything anymore. How much defense XP you get really doesn't matter at all, but I will be getting plenty of defense XP just because of doing shared on Cerberus, since that's the best thing I can really do. But defense is way faster to train than attack and strength because you can chin on long range and get like 350k an hour defense XP, which is way faster than you can get in attack and strength in Nightmare Zone. So the amount of defense XP you get, you shouldn't be worried about at all because you can train it so much faster than the other two. The main thing to be concerned about is just getting decent amounts of strength and attack XP, I would say. So yeah, for Dark Beasts, I just use attack and I wear Bandos, and you know, you get assigned like 10 to 20 of them, so it's a quick task. For Calphites, I use Bludgeon, as I said. For Greater Necreals, I Barrage them. There is a way with Greater Necreals and Dust Devils to use an alt to like lure the monsters for your main, so that way you don't have to keep luring them over after they respawn. You can get quite a bit higher rates with that, but you do need to have the Slayer level to attack them on your alt. That's how it works in the Catacombs, so I'm not going for alts right now, so I'm not bothering to do that, but I'm going to link Razor Beast's channel in the description. He has a lot of videos of him doing Slayer tasks like that with an alt, luring them, and well, he has videos of I think all the Slayer tasks that he does, and he's close to 200 mil, so I would definitely check out how he slays if you want a reference on how to do certain tasks. Smoke Devils I Barrage, and you don't need an alt to lure them because you can set up a cannon to pull them over. Black Dragons I just use a whip and a cannon, and they're once again a very quick task. Dagonoths I whip, and I haven't been using a Warrior Ring actually, just because Berserker Ring will mean that I get higher melee rates there, which I think is more important to me. But the difference between Berserker and Warrior Ring there is very small anyways, so it doesn't really matter that much either way. For Suquas, I pray Mage and still wear Bandos, so you use a fair amount of prayer there, but they kind of fuck you up, like they do a lot of damage to you, so that's why I still wear Bandos, and also Bandos does give you a nice bit of extra DPS, so yeah, I've just been sticking with Bandos for pretty much everything. And Dust Devils I Barrage as well, pretty straightforward. For Dust Devils and Necreals, I just lure them with a blowpipe. I put on a blowpipe with bronze darts to attack them, then pull them over to a corner, and you have to like run back and forth between a few different spots, like run through them so that they start to stack onto each other, and it's not too difficult to do once you get the hang of it. So yeah, hopefully this video has at least been somewhat helpful. Definitely not as cohesive and straightforward as maybe some of my previous Slayer videos, but I kind of just wanted to ramble about Slayer, give you guys some good resources and stuff to think about, because a lot of people do still watch my older Slayer videos, which a lot of the information in there is still helpful and relevant, but a lot of things about Slayer have definitely changed. So if you're doing Slayer right now, hopefully you have gotten some good information from this video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to drop a like if you did, and any more questions in the comment section below. I'm sure there's lots of things I missed, but there's so much stuff to talk about with Slayer. So yeah, the comment section may contain more information that I forgot to talk about. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys all later.